All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. But listen, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. And I wanted to kind of show you exactly what I mean by, you're really missing out on money if you're just getting started in IT, or even if you're in a help desk job that sucks someplace. I know what that's like. I worked in a terrible help desk job in San Diego when I first got out the military. And, a lot of times what happens is you end up grinding and no one wants to teach you anything. So, you end up becoming a government contractor. And what that means is that, if you're on the East Coast, right? But you know what? A lot of people don't realize there's government agencies all around the world, right? So, I mean, you could be in Okinawa, Japan, which has Marine Corps military bases, mainland Japan, Italy, Naples, Italy. I mean, there's that Bahrain. There's a military base in Bahrain. You know what I mean? There's partnerships with different countries like KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In Africa, there's AFRICOM. There's a there's an embassy in Kenya, right? In Nairobi, Kenya, there's an embassy. So the United States government is all over the world, and if you go to like a certain area that may be conflict oriented, there may be hazardous duty pay. If it's during wartime, you may get, you may be able to get pay that's tax free, right? Depending on the location that you go to. And that has its own challenges and things like that. So, like I said, you don't have to just be the type of person that's like, I'm going to go work for Facebook. I'm going to go work for Amazon. I'm going to go work for, there's so many other options available that you can actually pick something else, right? So when I finally unlocked the secret sauce, right? I was working for Act for Healthcare. When I first got out of the Navy off of active duty, I was just trying to find anything. That's what most people do. They get on Dice, right? And you go on the Dice website, and I haven't been on Dice in forever, but Dice, oh, they upgraded it a little bit. So, they get on Dice, they go on and they say, oh, I want to be a cloud engineer. You know what I mean? They put their location in, and let's see if it even has something like, let's search on only remote, right? See if it search by rule. So this is where a lot of people do, right? They get on Dice, they get on Indeed, they get on all these other different websites, and you're literally wasting your time. And this is why. There's recruiters behind here that may be either in the US or out of the US. So you don't know who you're sending your resume to. So you're literally wasting your time applying on these aggregator websites, right? It's like, just pumping people in. So if you want to be able to make money as a government contractor, there's so many different ways to find the names of the government contractor all around the United States and outside the country also. Outside the country is a little bit more difficult, and I'm not going to get into that topic today. I'm just going to focus on inside the continental U.S. Puerto Rico, Guam, United States, Alaska. Just the continental U.S. and the immediate areas, Micronesia, etc. So the thing is this: there's two sides, right? You can come up the ranks as a government contractor, which they do make more money than federal employees. Make no mistake. After you have some experience, right? You're not going to just start making bank from the rip and you don't have no experience at all. That's not going to happen. That's not realistic. But you generally will make more than a new federal employee without a college degree, and that's just how it is. But you can come directly out of college and go to USAJOBS and apply directly. You would be shocked how many people never apply on USAJOBS, or they work for years as a government contractor. I remember one time, I'm not going to mention the contracting company's name, but I was working for Department of Transportation. And when I was working at Department of Transportation, I seen a gentleman. He's going to pray if he sees this. He's going to be like, "Hey," But he was sharp. He was real sharp and real smart guy, right? So I said, this dude, he's getting paid as a help desk analyst. I think, was he a help desk? Yeah, I think he was just doing help desk. And he was sharp as a razor, right? I said, I'm gonna tell this dude, let me give him the scoop and let him know, what to do. So I went, oh, his PM was pissed, because he was really good, right? But this is the thing. Don't hold people back just because they're good at that job and you want to stick them in that little job. And that's what happens with a lot of us is if you have somebody that has a good technical competency or soft skills or whatever, and they're doing a wonderful job, instead of teaching the person so that they can promote themselves, especially if they're married and got kids, right? Even if they don't have kids and they're not married, still let somebody grow if they have that potential. Some people, let me tell you something, in this world, there's always people that have to work a certain position and they only want that position. The earth needs people like that, right? They're just happy where they are. And for their life situation, there may be nothing wrong with that, right? Not everybody is on the grind to move up and up and up. They get to a certain level and they're happy with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So anyway, so I taught him go to USA Jobs, right? Get your first of all, update your resume, and then second of all, go get your college education so that you can get through the filtering, right? So this is my beef with college education. It's just a filter for HR professionals and people who have a stack of resumes. It's not like it means you're smarter or it means you're better than a person that doesn't have a college degree. It's just a way to kind of separate you in the stacks of who's going to get paid what from what I've seen. I'm not no HR person, I could be wrong, but from what I've experienced my own self, that it tends to be a filtering process. Same thing with certifications. That's why I always tell people if somebody says you don't need IT certifications, that person's an idiot. And I'll tell anyone that says that you're an idiot because you have no clue how difficult it is to find a job and you have nothing to demonstrate and show that you have the skills associated, the baseline skills associated with that job, right? So and it's a whole nother scenario if somebody is from a community where they don't have a lot of challenges, right? And people from different communities, say for example you're Nigerian and you have a heavy accent, right? You speak English but your accent's thick, or you're Ethiopian, or you know you're Kenyan, or you're Italian or Irish or Scottish, right? And you have a heavy accent, so you'll have to deal with people's comfort level and when they're explaining, like you're explaining everything, you're talking English very clearly, and then people, I can't understand what he's saying. I've been in meetings where I've actually tell people stop. He's speaking the English clear. You just need to pay attention, right? And then having to pull the person to the side later and say, hey, that's an inappropriate. Please don't do that. And that's just the world we live in, right? And it's a fact. But here's the thing. None of that matters if you're focused on moving up, right? If you get caught in those kind of scenarios and you're stuck in the contractor job or you're stuck in a job that sucks and you're not doing anything about it, then you're going to stay like that for years. But to go from being a government contractor, so you can stay as a government contractor and try to move up that way and work for government agencies if you're going on the government gov tech side, or you can just apply direct, right? Just go direct, okay? Instead of being a contractor for the government for a project, unless you just, you've got a lot of experience and you're making 250, 260, 290, $300,000. All right. Do your thing, baby. Do your thing. You making that paper. But that contract ends. When that contract ends, that money go down the drain. And so just think about that too, because the thing is, with a government job, it's after your probation period. Now, understand this: on your probationary period, you can and they can get rid of you, right? There's On a probationary period, they can fire you for anything. They really don't need much excuse, really, to get rid of you. But after your probation, I mean, unless you do something that you have to do something really, really significant. And even then, there's a grievance process. There's protections in place to protect federal employees from discrimination, from, bigotry and all these other different things. So even if it does happen, you have protocols in place that will, I've worked in places where people have actively tried to fire people. And I knew they were doing it because they didn't either they didn't like the person, or the person was male or female. They were just somebody that they didn't want to work with, so they were making things difficult for the person. And they had, one of the things I always did is say, no, you have to follow the process. There's a, EEO process, or there's this process, there's that process. And those processes are in place. People say, oh, this is nonsense, but it protects people that are avoiding these kind of ignorant people that want to hire their friends or their family members and their cousins and brothers, or a favorite contractor. That you got a lot of contractors sometimes that become very buddy buddy with senior executives or people that they work with, and they start to really like the person, and they figure out ways to kind of go around the soup and make sure that they can get the person hired, which is not cool. I'm a victim of that. For 3 years, I applied for a government job. 3 years. Well, one, I didn't have no idea how to apply, and we're going to jump into that in a second. But 3 years, I could not get in. And then this one gentleman at transportation, he interviewed me fairly, right? The interview went really, really well. And I did the security background check, and the security screener, she was rough, but she was doing her job, so I'm not mad about that. So she dug, but I cleared everything. So once I cleared the background check, and I got a discussion about that too for people that have had challenges when they were young. So when you clear the background check, right, and you get your clearance, whether it's you don't need a clearance or you do need a clearance, then you start the process, right? But you need that one person who's open-minded, who's fair, that's going to open the door for you. If you have hangups about people's race or their identity or their creed or their, you know, ways of looking at life, you're gonna have a hard way to go. You got to throw that stuff to the side, because you have to focus on what you need to do for your life, right? It's not worrying about what Ricky and Barbara and Muhammad is doing. It's worrying about yourself and what you need to do for your life and for your family. But anyway, so worry about yourself. Mind your business. I tell people that all the time. Mind your business. Don't worry about what other people. Don't worry about what you need to do. So anyway, now I'm gonna get into USA Jobs, right? So USA Jobs, if you're an IT professional, it's called 2210, right? And that's a GS scale. So GS scale means general schedule. Let's just take a look at what they make. I was looking at this earlier, right? I didn't mean to pull up the PDF, but it came up. But let me go back. GS 2210. Let me move the window. Okay, paying leave. So the general so there's different schedules inside the government, but for the most part, most of the government is going to be GS, which is general schedule, right? It's like a way to pay. So this is breaking out the pay table for the different sections of the country, right? So if you're in, let's say, Alaska, right? So if you're in Alaska, uh, you're making some bread, Fred, right? A GS 15, GS 14, 174,000, GS 13. Now, the thing about the 13, 14, 15, generally you have a college degree. I've met some people in government that are 14s and 15s without degrees, but they were very few and far between. So at some point, you may need to do like a bachelor's degree. And that's what, universities like WGU and National University and accelerated schools actually come in. But I'll get into that discussion another time. All right. Anyway, so let's just look at DC. I'm in the DC metro area. So let's go to DC. Right. Now, how do you make money as a federal employee? Right. A lot of feds don't understand this. And they just don't, right? You'll see a person that's a GS 13 or a GS 12 or a GS 11, and they've been a GS 13 for 10 years. You know who I'm looking at if you watch this video. So, and they're scared to move around, right? So anyway, the way you can move around, see, in the federal government, the way it works is that you only need to be at one grade level for 1 year. There's no requirement that you have to stay in an agency longer than 1 year. Let me say it again. There's no requirement that you have to be in an agency for longer than 1 year. After 1 year of federal service, you can move to another agency. Now, I don't know if that affects temp employees or not. I'm not sure, but because I've always dealt with the permanent side. I've never been a temporary employee, and actually the idea of being temporary, I just avoided that. So me, from what I've gone through, right? When I first came in the federal government years ago, the first job I had for the US Army, I was a GS-11, right? Then I left the federal government, went to the private sector, worked as a government contractor, and then I came back a year later as a GS-13. I have my master's degree, right? So, and I did it at National University. National University is out of California. I went on campus for my bachelor's degree, and I did a couple classes on campus for the master's, and then I did the rest of the degree online. It's 1 month for each class, and it allows you to finish very fast. I really, really like National University. It's perfect for working adults or people that just can't sit in school for 10 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years. I mean, it's a lot of work. Don't take it for a joke. It ain't easy. It's not easy. You have to hustle, but at the same time, you can finish fairly quickly. Same thing with Western Governors University. These colleges where they have you there for 16 weeks, 12 weeks. There's nothing that they're teaching you that's so different from these other schools that have 4-week programs, and you paying double the cost, triple the time. Use your brain. Yeah, I know. Get that. Anyway, so that 1 year, okay, once you go to, let's say you go to agency A, and this is the trick, a little secret. Don't tell nobody, right? Once you go to agents, let's say that first agency is Health and Human Services, right? Or Department of Labor or Department of Interior. You work there for 1 solid year. When you get to your 10th month, your 9th month, start looking. Let's say you come into government as a GS-12 or a GS-13, step 1. Because if you're coming in fresh in the government, you're only going to be a step 1. Unless you have some kind of extreme skills and exception. Like if you got a bunch of certifications, you could say, I think it's called superior candidate. I can't remember exactly. Let me see. Superior qualifications. Superior qualifications. Because I remember I got this one time. I had superior qualifications for when I came back in as a 13, and I qualified because I had the master's degree. I had like 10 IT certifications. So I came in at like a 13 step 5 because of superior qualifications. So that's another little tip that a lot of people don't realize. If you take the time to get your IT certifications that are actually critical and important to that agency, say you get your certified ethical hacker or your CCNA or your Microsoft certifications or your AWS solutions architect. If you want to get certifications that agency is looking for, it could be cybersecurity. A lot of times it's cybersecurity, networking. It just depends. You have to look at the job announcement. We'll go over that real quick. But anyway, so with superior qualifications, right? You can't come in the door with nothing and say, I'm superior. Give me a raise. You have to put the work in and come in with something to bring to the table. So think about that. All right. So I came in at a GS-13 step 5. Then, now, mind you, I flipped a bunch of different agencies during this whole process. When I finally figured out the first agency I was in, Department of Transportation, I was there for 3 years. And I was trying to apply to GS-14 positions to go up. Now, this scale that you see right now, this goes up like every year, every couple of years. It does go up. So this wasn't what it was, 15 years ago, right? So when I first started in 2012, this wasn't what we were getting paid. So this does change, and it does go up over time. There's usually a raise every year, every couple of years. So it depends on when they give federal employees a raise. But anyway, so the first 3 years I stayed at my first agency, and I could not get a 14. What did they say? Oh man, we really need you here at this location, and you're working in the data center, you're doing this, you're doing that. And the supervisor wasn't trying to let me, move, right? It wasn't really trying to do anything that would allow me to move on. It was very discouraging. And I said, you know what? Forget this. Let me start looking for a job. And I started looking for a job out of frustration. Not just because I knew anything. I didn't know about none of this. None of this process that I know about. I started looking for another job out of frustration and just pure sick and tired of being paid the same thing year after year, and nothing was happening. So I bounced from there and went to Department of Labor, right? Boom, I got to 14, right? Then the light bulb went off. I went to a new agency, and see, this is how it works. If this is where you are at the agency that you're in, when you go to a 14, they have to pay you $1 more than the grade that you're at, right? So if you're a 13 step 5, you have to be higher than that, then you'll become a 14 step 1. Okay. So if you move to another agency, right, they have to pay you more. So then you go to another agency, but see, this is where it gets into lateral versus promotion. So if you go lateral, you're not going to get a raise, right? And this is where the 1 year is important. So if you go to another agency, say you go from you stay for a couple years and you're at GS 13 step 8, and you move to another agency, they have to pay you because you're at 145,000. They now have to pay you because you're $1 above these amounts, right? Above 144 because you're at 145. Okay. They have to pay you GS 14 step 3. Okay. 1 grade above, you only need 1 year. 1 year. Then they have to pay you the next grade level that is below that amount and not above the next amount, right? So then you go to a 14 step 3. You only need to do 1 year at that next agency. That's it. A lot of people stay there for years, years, right? When the light bulb went off, I said, oh, let me do my time, and then I'm moving on. I need to make money. I got bills to pay. I'm trying to get this real estate thing off the ground so I can buy a house and renovate the house without a mortgage, without rent. It's better to live rent and mortgage free, but it's going to be a location that may not be the best. I'm in Baltimore, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't have a rental mortgage, right? So everyone's idea of wealth, and some people say, you live in Baltimore? There's a lot of nice places in Baltimore, right? I don't have no problems where I live at. I don't have any problems whatsoever where the location I live, right? So the thing is this, it's all about what your priorities in life are, right? So if you're worried about being flashy and you get one of these jobs and you go buy a $600,000-700,000 house, $800,000 house, if you live in a decent metro area, that's generally what you're going to pay. It's very, very difficult to find something for 300,000, 400 something thousand, 500 something thousand. I mean, if you do, you're going to be somewhere near the ghetto, right? It ain't going to be it's not going to be a good area. So why not find some place that you can buy the home, renovate it patiently, and then don't have to worry about that money for that. You can take that money and invest it in something else that's going to help your life in the future. But anyway, everybody's got their own way of thinking about that. They want to live fancy, they want to live fly, and they wonder why they're waiting for that next check every 2 weeks. Because if you don't pay that mortgage and you lose that job, you're gonna be stuck. And that's the thing about being a contractor, right? You may be making 250, 260, 180, 190, $160,000. But if the contract ends, which it does, depending on the company, they may move you to another contract with another agency, or they might just let you go. They might just let you go. I was always blessed by Allah, blessed by God to have some kind of information before something happened, and I bounced when I was a government contractor. I left quick. You know, when I knew it was coming, I mean, I left one location and they fired an entire division. I mean, 100 something people, right? I mean, they don't care. I remember walking into one company, I'm not going to mention the company's name. I was there for 3 days as an IT manager and was told that they had lost a contract, uh, and there was a government contractor, and they had to let like 20 people go. And I said, I've been here 3 days. I don't know these people. They said, well, if you don't want to do it, if you don't want to fire them, I'll fire you. Okay. Oh, not a problem. So, but it was terrifying. It was horrifying. And from that day, I started looking for another job. But anyway, all right. So grade level step 8, right? 145. Say you come in at 137 and you stay there for a couple of years, you stay. If you want to stay at your first job a couple of years, it's fine, but you don't have to, right? So then 145, they have to pay you the next grade up, which will be 148. You only need to stay at that position 1 year, and then you can go to the next grade level above that. Now, for pay raises, it's pay raise increases. It's automatic for pay raise increase. What is this? Move string. This is every 2 years for GS14. I really can't remember, right? There's a step increase. It's called a step increase. What is the timeline? You know what? Let's try Bard out. Let's see if Bard works. Put it to a test. What is the timeline for step increases for government employee for GS? Be specific. 2210 step 14. See if it comes out. I think it's like every 2-3 years. I honestly can't remember because I didn't stick around long enough to wait for a step increase. Anyway, so yeah, step increase is automatic for step 1 to 3 is every 12 months. And then steps 4 to 6 is every 18 months. And then steps 7 to 10 is every 24 months, right? So that makes sense. So you have to be in the position and that at that grade level, like a GS13 or a GS14, for that amount of months to be able to move to those grade levels. That's how it works, right? So what that means is to kind of explain the AI stuff, right? After you've been, so the first 3 steps, you're going to automatically move up every 12 months. So if you stay in the same position, right? So if you're GS14, then the first 3 steps are automatic. You're going to move every year. Every year you're going to go up to the next grade level. So say if you stay for 3 years at a GS14, then you get to 148,000. And then then you're going to wait the next extended period for the GS14 step 4 and then move on, right? Now, to avoid all of this foolishness, okay, once you get 1 year in, then you can move up to the next position. So if you're a GS13 step 1 at 117,000, you do 1 year at an agency. Now, you have to leave that agency and go to a different agency. That's the thing. It's not going to work in the same agency. You can't be in Homeland Security and then change jobs from 13 to a 14 to Homeland Security. From wait a minute, no. Yeah, if you are in the same agency, as long as you go up a grade level, then you'll still get the promotion. I just had to think about it for a second. But anyway, the problem is if you're in the same agency, it's usually very, very difficult to go up a grade level. It's usually extremely competitive inside the same agency, at least from my own experience. Every time I tried to apply for a position inside Department of Transportation when I was there as a 13, anywhere in the department, it was like hell on earth trying to, get the job to move up. It's like my supervisor was telling people, we need him to stay here. Don't mess us up, right? But anyway, so what I did is I always went to a new agency, right? So when I figured it out, I left there, went to Department of Labor. From there, then I went to a different agency, right? So when I went to a different agency, I got to 14. Then when I went to another agency after that, I got to 15 step 1. And that's when everything changed, right? So once I got to 15 step 1, I stayed there for some time, a couple years. Then I went to another agency and I got a bump. I bypassed this whole waiting step grade levels, and then I got a bump up until today as a GS15 step 10, right? And people say, oh man, he's telling us, what do you mean? It's public information. So if you want to find out what any federal employee makes, all you got to do is go online and you can find out what any federal employee makes. So if you're scared about that, oh well, who cares? So anyway, so Now, that's the federal government side, right? That's how the pay works. And that's how you can make the pay and bounce around. And a lot of people don't know this. They really don't, right? Now, to apply for a government job, if you're an IT professional, you can go 2210, Information Technology Management, remote, only show remote jobs, right? There's 18 today. This fluctuates. It can be 20, 30, it can be 10, it can be 15. These are 100% remote jobs. Now, this is a little trick with these remote jobs. You have to ask them how much travel is required. When do I have to travel? Some jobs will require no travel, and some jobs will require you to go to like a annual meeting and they'll pay for the travel. It's not like you're going to pay out of your pocket or anything like that. So let's just take a look at one of these roles. You see, it's always going to be a lot of cybersecurity, anything with the federal government, but it could be cloud, it could be different positions. So let's see. Let's go up and let's just pick this InfoSec position. I didn't even look at the grade levels. Let me see. So, and this is how you can go by the grade level, right? So, and this is after you've already been in. This, you wouldn't want to see. What most people do is they'll go in and they'll jack the salary up, right? And they'll they won't have no they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna apply for that one. No, don't even mess with this salary thing at all. That's one thing since I've been in federal government since 2012, I have never once touched this salary thing, right? I've never messed with this scale at all because it can fluctuate wildly, and you can actually lose the opportunity to apply for a position because you're messing with this salary tool. Don't use this thing, right? So if you want to put the grade level in, all right, let's say 13, you'll see all the 13 positions that are available, right? If you're 14, so if you're coming in from the street, unless you got a master's degree, don't bother applying for anything more than a G. I mean, you can, it doesn't matter, you can apply, but you're more than likely not going to get anything unless you got like a ton of experience, but it's highly unlikely, right? But anyway, so GS 13, 14, 15, you are not going to get a GS 15 position from the street unless you have an extreme amount of skill, and you might end up in an agency like GSA or 18F or one of these high-speed organizations. It's usually a temporary position or a term position. You are not going to find, very rarely, maybe in a science position, where you're going to get a GS 15 from the street. And because GS 15s are usually leaders in the federal government, they're equivalent to military commanders. So having no experience in the federal government, you will be a landmine nightmare to deal with because you're just not going to know how the federal government works. Anyway, so you can do this. Above here is senior executive service. Don't even bother clicking on that. If you're watching this video, don't click on that unless you're in the federal government, right? So then you look at the position, right? Watch out for these kind of things. When you see repository, don't apply to that. It may be a year before somebody looks at that thing. I mean, but if it looks good, then go ahead and apply. Somebody might pick it up. You might get a call 6 months later. Yeah, I've had that happen. I've had people call me about jobs like 8 months later. Are you still interested? What job is that? Send me an announcement. I can read it. Let me just go back to one that's not like that. Right. So they got all these different authorities. So listen, anyway, direct hire authority. Let me just try to get a simple one. Okay. Yeah. And it can be a little complicated. So you read through the requirements, and let me tell you something about this. Every single time, all of these job announcements, the qualifications almost never were the same as the job I did. Never. Half the time you wondering if people are writing this stuff with blindfolds on, so just understand that the description here is like an approximate guest list, an approximate I wish I had list, right? And when you see stuff like this, you never know what they're gonna have you doing, right? When you get the interview and you talk to them, you just don't know. Let's see if I can find something let me remove the filters and type in cloud, right? I'm not going to put remote. Let me put 2210 cloud. Sometimes these filters are really not the best, right? So nothing's jumping out as cloud. Let's say Amazon Web Services. Okay, application developer. So, you know, what I've always done is just typed in IT specialist, right? Because that's the most broad. IT specialist is the most broad title until you get to management. And when you get to management, it's supervisory IT specialist. And as you can see, there's 3,342, right? And that's where you can start filtering now. So then you say, okay, well, I'm going to, coming from the public, then I'm open to the public. If you're a federal employee already, then you mess with the federal employee side. If you're a veteran, you click on veteran, right? And then you look for jobs that have that veteran. So veteran, you don't need to have, there's a huge amount of benefit to being a veteran, right? I'm a veteran also. So, they, it makes things a lot easier when you're a veteran, right? If you're not, it doesn't matter. You still can apply. Okay, so let's say, for example, this is a GS-12. Let's just look at, this is Utah. And like I said, it's all over the country. It's all over the country. Alabama, right? So uh, Department of Commerce. So this is a GS-12. Let's just pick on Alabama. I'm gonna pick on you, Alabama, right? So it's a GS-12. So a GS-12 starts at 99,200. Okay. They do not expect you to know much at a GS-12. They really, really don't, right? I know I never did. So the position, they're working on Red Hat install. So this is like a Linux engineer, right? So if you're a Linux, if you passed your Red Hat Certified Systems Administrator exam, you can apply for this job. Straight up. Install and configure Red Hat, right? Implement Linux security procedures, right? So changes through the team lead. So you're just a worker bee on the team, okay? They're going to have a lot of latitude of what they're going to allow you to learn. They're going to have a lot of tolerance. They're going to work with you. They're going to train you. It's going to be a very comfortable environment at a GS-12 because they're not expecting you to come in knowing everything, okay? So this is good, right? And you won't see here a requirement for certification. But if you already have it and you do the interview, then it's fine, right? Now, here's the other thing. One-page resumes. If you're applying for a federal government job, and I know this video is getting kind of long, and I'll kind of wrap it up, right? One-page resumes, I've always used, when I first started, my first 4 or 5 years in government, I had these 2-3-page resumes. When I stopped using those long resumes and started using one-page resumes, and then they got the form builder online, then everything started opening up, right? So that's how I was bouncing from agency to agency so quickly. So once I figured out the secret sauce of a one-page resume, which was basically accomplishments, and then the degree at the bottom and the certifications at the bottom, then I started noticing if I applied to like about 100, 200 federal positions, I would get like 6 to 10 calls back, but it was always like 4, 5, 6 months later, right? Sometimes 3 months later. It's never fast because they have to, once they get the resumes, they have to go to HR, and then HR has to validate and certify the resumes. They send the resume to a hiring official who reviews the resumes. Sometime a panel will review the resumes. But half the time, if they're not technical, they just give it to some IT person and say, "Is this person qualified?" I've seen that happen so much, right? They'll just pass it off. That's why it's so important to make sure your resume is on point technically, right? Because the person that's going to look at it is going to be someone that knows how to do that job. So don't put fluff on the resume that you know you haven't done, because it's going to get seen. It's going to get chopped, right? So anyway, now, once you apply and you get the response back and you do the interview, just be yourself, right? Calm down and be yourself and explain what you can do, what you can't do. And when you get selected, right, you'll get an email that they select you, and they'll start the process, and you'll get the background check. If it requires a security clearance, not all jobs in the federal government require a security clearance. No, they don't, right? There's some positions that do not require a clearance. There's many actually. So unless you're working for certain agencies, if you're working for the Department of Defense, automatically secret, right? Automatically secret level security clearance, right? I work for Department of the Army. I work for U.S. Navy. U.S. Navy required a top secret security clearance. So, it's always going to be a clearance process when it's Department of Defense. Outside of Department of Defense, it just depends, right? So, just apply and try, right? Now, that's the federal government side of how you make money and how you move around. Now, from the contractor side, if you're a federal government contractor, what I've done as a contractor, my number one job search tool was Google Maps, right? And guess what I did? Government contractors near me. And then, let's see, federal government, IT contractors near me, okay? That filter is not doing good. So let me explain. So what I did is I found the company name, right? There's a couple different ways. I used to use the SBA website. SBA government. So this is the way that you can find who actually has government contracts, right? Now look at this. Federal government prime contractors, okay? Let's download the list. Now I'm on Linux, so there ain't no Office here. So there's only Office. Nobody need no Windows. Anyway, so they'll tell you the description of what the contract is for, right? And this is public information. There's a lot of public information for the federal government, right? Now, you see all of these names of these companies? They have prime and subprime. So prime is the one that got the contract. May not necessarily be the one doing the work, okay? So once you find the company's name, guess what? Let's just pick a random company. Technical Corporation, okay? Now, finding a job is a job, requires a little research, but doing this, Shay's process, will save you with the foolery of being on LinkedIn and all these other websites, applying, sending your resume randomly to random air, hoping that somebody calls you back. This is a targeted search. This is what I call OSINT. This is like open source intelligence to find and target a company specifically to get a more, you want to get responses back, right? You don't want to waste your time because searching for a job is time consuming. So I don't want to apply to jobs that are not open, right? So to have a more structured job search, you attack and target specifically your focus, right? All right. So anyway, so that's the list. Technical Corporation, right? I've already copied it. Let's go back. Type in Google. Find out where they are. Because sometimes they're not near you, right? But many government contractors are in the DC metro area, right? I mean, there's some all around the country, but for the most part, their headquarters are usually going to be somewhere near the federal government. All right, so they got the address here. Boom. Now I got the website. Okay. Now I got the website. Go directly to the website. HTTPS. Boy, look at here. Anyway, so now I got the website. Okay. So I can go back and see what they got awarded for. Wired telecommunications. So automatically, if I'm looking for a networking job, boom. And you see, you just target, right? Wired communication carrier, right? So you know they're going to do, they're dealing with networking, right? So networking and cloud is more than likely going to be something that they're doing, right? Let's click on careers, open positions, right? Open positions. Oh boy. Yes, I'm a human. This is one of the weirdest ones I've seen. Anyway, so what the heck? All right, whatever. Anyway, so they've got systems administrator positions. Let's type in cloud. Let's see if they got any cloud roles. They got, let's type in a database search parameter, AWS. What comes up? Okay. All right. So systems administrator, senior, blah, blah, blah. These things are usually always really long, but this is what you want to find out. Okay. Okay. They require a secret. They're probably more than likely working for DOD or Department of Homeland Security, right? Because those are the two heavy hitters that always want clearances. Not everybody wants a clearance, right? If you see top secret, 9 times out of 10 is DOD. 9 times out of 10 is DOD or Homeland Security. 9 times out of 10. But I guarantee you, this is more than likely DOD. Yep, look, right here, DOD. I told you, right? So anyway, now this is a shopping list, right? You could have a hot heartbeat as long as you can demonstrate you have 1 or 2 of these. So, it depends if they can't find anybody, right? If you don't apply, you don't know. So just apply, right? And that's just one example. Now, we have the name of the company. Let's go ahead and find out. Let's see if we can find their HR person. And like I said, it's a little bit of work. So what I usually do is I create like a spreadsheet. I'll put the company name, I'll put the people, the point of contact. I'll actually go through this whole process, but I have very targeted searches and I have much better results back when I do apply for the jobs. Okay, technical corporation, people. Let's type in the keyword HR. Human resources. Sorry to pick on you there, Stefan. Boom. He comes up. Let's see. Can we message him? Boom. Oh, you got to upgrade your plan. Blah, 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 blah. But you can dig, try to find his information, his email, Let's see. Okay. Let's see if they put their email on the website. You'd be surprised at stuff that people post online. All right. So it didn't post anything. But you can dig. You'll find it. But anyway, so what I'm saying is you can find the right person to reach out to, whoever that person you choose to reach out is, right? And you can ask the question, all right, they got a technical recruiter here, Kristen, Miss Jimenez, reach out to her, see if you can, all right, not sure what's going on with my LinkedIn. I really don't care. But anyway, so you can find a point of contact and try to reach out to that recruiter directly and ask that question. Do you have this position open? Is it still advertised? Have you hired anybody yet? That way, and then if your LinkedIn profile is set up and you have your main information, right? So you have your name, you have your description of what you do, you have your interactions on it, especially if it's somebody that uses LinkedIn. It's good to have interactions on LinkedIn. It shows that you're kind of involved, right? You have your position, your breakdown of what you've done and stuff like that, and your certifications, your college degrees and stuff. Now I see people do this on LinkedIn all the time. They'll take LinkedIn courses. LinkedIn courses are not certifications. So if you put your certifications there, not a class, not a course. That's not a certification. And I've seen that so much. I'm like, why are they posting classes? So anyway, you go in and then you can click and verify. And this is why you want to have that verification there. So if somebody's screening people, right, and you get down, like I get down to 5 or 6 candidates, and I can verify that this candidate has that experience, right? So it does you no favor if you have a LinkedIn profile and you're unable to verify your certification. Why did you even put it there? Put it there so somebody can actually click on it and verify that you actually have the certification. I don't know why people don't do that, right? I mean, I've done it. I've gone into LinkedIn for a candidate and went down their profile, went straight to licensing. If they said they had AWS and all this, other certifications, then I've seen the resume. I'm gonna go look, right? So first place I look, and many people look, is LinkedIn, right? Now, I only know a couple HR people that go check LinkedIn, but over the years, many of the ones I'd say 5 out of 10 will go searching through LinkedIn, sometimes to validate somebody's experience. Anyway, um, so click on the credential, you go in, and you'll actually see that that person has that. Cisco's taking forever. Anyway, so just make sure that when you click on this, it works, right? It'll actually go and validate, yeah, mine expired, I need to renew it, I just haven't had time. Anyway, so they verify that you have that certification. And that's just, you're trying to beat out other candidates. So in order to beat out other candidates, you have to stand out and you have to make the information easily accessible, easily able to verify. I've seen resumes with no phone number on them. What? I'm not going to spend 2 seconds. I'm not going to spend 2 seconds trying to find your info. You know what I mean? I got like 20 resumes, and you think I'm gonna? I wish I could say that person's name. You are just foolish, right? Why are you going to submit a resume and there's no phone number on it? There's no email address on it. That burns me up. Put your email address and your phone number on your resume. Don't submit it if you don't put it there, because how is the hiring official or the IT manager or the IT director supposed to find you, right? Please. I mean, I don't understand what's wrong with people sometimes. Anyway, so act like they're working for the CIA, So even then, you better put your resume and your phone number. They probably got it anyway. so anyway, and that's the thing, right? So a little bit of open source intelligence to be able to apply for your position. Two things I never ever do. I've never done once is gone here in the last 3-4 years, and the reason why is because you're literally wasting your time. Period. I don't care what nobody says. You apply here, there's no guarantee anybody's going to pick it up, or it goes to recruiter's mailbox. It goes into an ATS, automatic tracking system. Somebody may or may not pick it up. There's few and far between the people that actually get responses from this thing. So if you want to do that, if you're like, no, LinkedIn's great, dude. Okay, all right. Well, then do this. Go to position. Sorry, mouse bothering me. My mouse is dry. Go to the position. You can either contact the person directly if they put the information in, right? But what I usually do, when you see this 44 applicants, that's a lot of people, right? When I see stuff like that, I go directly to the company's website itself, okay? Go to the company's website, if you can find it. Belmont Point Management. And you have to make sure sometime that this is not recruiters just aggregating resumes. Because what happens is if they have an announcement go out for a government contract, they need resumes. And they need to submit their bid with the resumes. So you don't want to be a part of that, right? Where was I at? Belmont Point Management. Go back. It kills me when people's name of their company and they're not on Google. Good grief. Let's pick a different company, right? I'm not going to waste my time with that. Let's look at Genesys, okay? So Genesys, they had 17 applicants. Senior IT manager, right? Okay. Let's check and see. When I see this, it's like a little flag for me. to check where this company is located at, right? So, oh, sorry. Go back, Genesis, senior IT manager. Okay, they were on point. They had a link directly to their website. All right, now let's take a look and see their careers. Now it said senior IT manager. Let's see if that position is actually open. Right. Accept. Okay, you just open up different websites. All right. When I see this, different countries, that's an automatic flag. So, and the reason why I say it's a flag is because you may be dealing with people outside of the country, and it can be a real headache going through the interview process many times, right? At least in my own experience. All right, so let's find a position. Good grief. All right, North America. What the hell? People make their website so damn complicated. Ugh. This is like a click hell. I don't have patience for this. I don't got a lot of patience for foolishness. I really don't. So go back, find a different company. And just imagine where your resume is going when you just apply randomly. Okay, current opportunities. Their website looks cute. Let's see. All right, so they were listed as a position for director of IT infrastructure, right? So let's put director. And I've seen many times where the name of the position itself on the company's website doesn't match LinkedIn, which usually generally is a recruiter trying to get resumes. Okay, that position's not coming up. Let's just put IT. Sometimes recruiters will put job announcements on LinkedIn. They get the resumes and they submit them in order to sell the candidate to the company. So if you don't know about that, it happens a lot, right? It doesn't work in the federal government because the government doesn't take resumes from, okay, there it is, IT director. So like I said, it doesn't match from LinkedIn to there. So this is why I usually just go over and just apply directly, right? And when you apply directly, if the person's name is there, like Amy Gaskell is there, then I would actually message her directly and tell her that I'm interested. Oh, look at this. That's cute, LinkedIn. Right with AI. Ask about the job. Isn't that cute? Yo, that is crazy. Yo, that's a lot of time saving. Yo, LinkedIn, y'all smashing it. That's cute. That's real cute. Edit it a little bit and then add your resume and then send it off, right? So now, just to recap, you can either go on LinkedIn, go directly to the company's website, and then find the name of the position on the company's website. Because if it's not on the website, it's no longer available. Don't apply to it, right? It's waste of time. Okay. And you can see if this matches. Okay, you got the qualification. This looks like a professional place, so let's see if it matches. Discard. It does match. Oh, good job. Good job, FYI. I like you. So matches up, then if it's feasible, then reach out. But don't rely on LinkedIn because a lot of times they go to ATS systems, right? Go directly to the government's website and apply on that company's website because it could be two different. What in the world? Oh, okay. So it could be two different ATS systems, automatic tracking systems. So it's always better to apply directly on the company's website directly, and then go back and then contact the person directly and send them your resume directly. Many times they'll tell you to just go to the company website and apply anyway, right? But don't send your resume through LinkedIn. That's it, right? So open source intelligence is finding the information. This is the SBA's website for all of the government contractors. And you can, I mean, this list, I'm not even going to attempt to go down this list. This list is massive. Look at this. Look at this. All of these companies. And you're sitting there on Indeed. Don't go on Indeed, baby. Do not go on Indeed. Don't go on Dice. Don't go on none of that. Go to SBA's website and download the list of government contract companies and then start looking for things that are applicable to what you want. And most of these companies, you'd be surprised. I mean, I'm not even going to attempt it right now, but if you sit down and try to do a filter, let's do a filter. Let's see what comes up. I'm going to expand and sort. Taking a look, it's a huge file, right? Somebody sitting there like, that was Excel, it'll be fast. But shut up. It's a big file. This thing, oh man. But anyway, so come on. Okay, it's done. All right. One of you open source haters that got something to say about open source, shut up. So anyway, so try to find what the agency does and kind of go from there. Ooh, file but canceled for some reason, ran out of memory. Somebody gonna have something to say. If that was Microsoft Office, man, be quiet. I ain't paying a dime for this. You pay for that license. I ain't paying for that license. All right, I'm gonna try it again. Let's see if it chokes again. It's a huge file. It's not like it's a tiny file. All right. Now, you know what? I'm not gonna mess with this sorting. Let's go ahead and. But anyway, you get the point, right? I'm not gonna stay here messing with this. So you take the name of the company, you search the name of the company. You can go to LinkedIn, find the company's website, find a recruiter that's actually issuing that job out, and apply directly to the company with a targeted search. Don't just randomly go on the internet and start applying to random jobs that are on Google or DuckDuckGo or all of these other search engines, right? Don't waste your time if you're trying to actually get a job, right? That's how you save a lot of money and time, right? So anyway, so all federal government jobs, you have to go to USAJOBS.gov, right? Create a one-page resume and fill out the resume builder inside USA Jobs, right? If you are a government employee, the way that you make bank quickly is you stay at an agency 1 year and then bounce to the next agency after that 1 year, right? People say, oh, that's cold, man. Well, you got a family or yourself to take care of, because if they wanted to fire you, they wouldn't think twice about getting rid of you. So I'm sorry, do what you got to do for yourself that's better for you and for your family. And then somebody say, oh, that's terrible. Why would you tell somebody to leave a job every year? Because just like me and I experience, you have people that are not willing to help you to move forward. So you got to move yourself forward. And you don't like it, doesn't matter. It's the rules of the federal government. I don't care if you don't like it, right? You don't have to stay in a place longer than a year. And if you get someplace where somebody's treating you like garbage, leave and go someplace else. Straight up. You don't have to work anywhere you don't want to. And, welcome to America, right? So anyway, so that's how you do it with the government contracts, to find government contract IT jobs. And after you get your certification and experience, then you're good to go. And you just keep moving around from there. And none of this requires you to work for Facebook, for Microsoft, for Amazon, or any of these, well-known companies, LinkedIn, whatever. There's so many government contractors that are making billions, millions. I mean, if you want to start a company and you get registered on SBA, you get your 8A certification for small business, woman-owned business, minority-owned business, veteran-owned business, and you can become a government contractor if that's what you want to do, right? You don't have to work for somebody. You can run your own business, right? There's, of course, things you need to fill out. There's a lot of paperwork and stuff like that, but it's up to you. Do you want to be an entrepreneur or do you want to be an employee? You choose what works for you, right? All right, so that's it. I'm tired. It's about 2:57 in the morning. So I'm going to call it a night. And I wish everybody the best. And I'll do some more, but not tonight. I'm done. Okay. All right. For the Muslims, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. For everybody else, peace, love, take care of yourself. I wish you the best. Good night.